Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Today I'm going to be talking about how I track all my colors in all the different mediums. So when I want to choose a color, how do I figure out which color I'm going to use? So let's get right to it. The first two are the easiest. The Copic marker color chart. It's something that you can download and color in yourself. You can see I've colored all the markers that I have. It's really super easy. It's by color family. I always use this chart whenever I want to choose a color because I can see exactly what the colors look like, which may be a little different than what the cap looks like on the actual marker. So this is what I use for my Copic markers, and this is my palette for Inktense pencils. This is also something that you can download, and I'll have a link to it, but you can see it has, this is a 72 count, so it has all 72 colors. It's got the name of the color. I colored it in with a dry pencil, and then I took an aqua painter and colored off to the right with water so that I could see what the watercolor looks like, because it is a little bit different, a little more muted, so you could see what colors to use here. Next is my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. This one I did myself with some Bristol paper, and what I did was I ordered all the markers in rainbow order, and then I put all the names on the left. I colored just a little bit, and then I pulled it out with an aqua painter just like I did with the Inktense. And I actually used this chart as a guide for how many I could fit on a row. And so I just kind of did the same thing. I used that as a measure. The next one I'm going to talk about is my Peerless watercolors. I use these a lot, and I have a whole separate video on how I organize my colors, but I just wanted to show you quickly here. You can go back and view that video for details, but they come on little paper palettes, and so I just cut a piece off the main palette. I labeled it. I put this Nina cardstock here, and I put the name of the color, and then I watercolored over here to the right. And then I use some Tombow Mono Multi Glue, which becomes tacky after it dries, and it can remove from here, so I can put it there and it sticks, or I can pull it off, and then I can kind of put it against my other colors to see which one it goes with the best. So that is my Peerless watercolors. Next is Stampin' Up! Inks. I have two pieces of Stampin' Up! Whisper White cardstock. I always use Stampin' Up! Cardstock with Stampin' Up! Inks. And I organized them by rainbow, and I just labeled them, and I stamped it using this Artful Flower Set by Simon Says Stamp. It has a nice solid flower image here. So I stamped it, and then I stamped off. And the reason I did that is because Stampin' Up! Ink pads have great Stampin' Off characteristics. So you can get almost a totally different color. So you can see here's my pumpkin pie, here's my daffodil delight. You get a dark and a light. So I have the reds, orange, and yellows here. I put some neutrals on this side here, and then the rest of my green, blue, and purple. I don't have every Stampin' Up! Color. But I do have most of them. I usually don't buy the in colors because they retire, and so I'm looking for ink pads that I can use for years and years and years. And some of these I've never even re-inked after, oh, it's probably been about 8 years or so. Anyway, so this is my Stampin' Up! Inks. Now, where I use my Stampin' Up! Ink pads mostly for stamping, I use my distress pads mostly for ink blending and different techniques. So rather than stamping samples, I've actually ink blended a lot of these samples. So what I'll do is I get a piece of 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 inch Nina cardstock, and I use my ink foam applicator to apply the ink to this square. I usually put the name on the back just in case they come off, and then I have the name labeled on my palette, my big palette here, and then I just stick it the same way as I do with my Peerless, which is with the Tombow Mono Multi Glue, so that I can pull them off. So if I want to see what matches yellow, I can pull the yellow off and kind of move it over here and figure out which color I want to use with it, and then when I'm done I just put it back. And I have all my reds, orange, yellows all the same way in the rainbow order. And I have some space here because they tend to add more colors more often than Stampin' Up! So I can add more to the right here. And that is my Distress ink pads. And finally, this container has all other inks. It has my Altenew ink, Simon Says Stamp, Hero Arts, My Favorite Things, pretty much all the other ink pads that I have. And what I've done here is I've created a different palette for each color and put all of the same colors with a binder clip. So these are all my reds, these are all my greens, these are all my blues. I combined yellow and orange, and then I have neutrals, and then these are purples. So I know they kind of all look different. So let me show you what kinds I have in here. All right, here are a few samples from my green pad. I'll just kind of walk through each one of these. These long ones are sold by Simon Says Stamp in packs, and so they have lines in between and then a hole to put them on a key ring if you want to do that. And the reason why I use these long ones is because I use some ink blending here, and then I stamp it here, and then I have a piece of cardstock that also matches. So I have 3 different samples for all my Simon Says Stamp, well, the ones I have cardstock for. I put all 3 here, and I use this stamp set to stamp them. You can't even see it because it's so discolored from so much use, but this is the swirly one and this is the solid one. And so sometimes, like on this one, this is an ink blend because it's put on there like that, and then this is the stamping, and then this is the cardstock. But for example, for my pigment inks, this is a Memento Luxe ink pad. I stamped it twice, one with the solid and one with the swirly, because I'm not going to ink blend with this one. I'm going to be stamping, so I want to know what it looks like solid and what it looks like with an image. This is a Hero Art shadow ink, and this one I might use for ink blending. So I ink blended a little piece of paper and stuck it to here, and then I stamp it so I could see what the ink blending and the stamping looks like. And then of course I labeled it. And then Altenew, I'm mostly going to be using just stamping. So I just did a stamp sample and then I labeled it underneath. So the reason why I don't put these on a key ring and I keep them in a binder is because whenever I'm looking for a color, I want to be able to just sort of take them out and just spread them around and figure out what color. So let's say, let me pull one of these from my red pack. So let's say I want to use this red. I'll just kind of go like this and match them up against the different ink colors to see which one I like the best. So I can really kind of get a feel for what it looks like against all these different colors without having to flip pages in a book or flip things on a key ring. This for me is the easiest way to do it. And then when I'm done, I just sort of gather them up. However they fall is however they fall, and I just kind of get it at the bottom here, and then I just put my binder clip on it, and then I store it in my container with all my other colors. So that is just a quick video of all my different color palettes and swatches. I hope you got some inspiration from that. If you have any questions, let me know. See you next time.